Express, and on this part of the show, we shall be taking a look at various topics that have unfolded and stories that have unfolded over the weekend. Graft is a major story all the way from last week, and also shall be taking a look at the COVID-19 tallying. The graph went down, but that was not because of the lack of there being cases, just a situation with the testing capacity in the country, and we shall be looking at some more topics that are relevant this morning. Let's take a look at this story just to get us into that particular situation on graft. Now, pressure is mounting on Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe after he was adversely mentioned in the alleged COVID-19 funds scandal. The Kenya National Union of Nurses Secretary General Seth Panako wants the Health CS and PS Susan Mochache to step aside to pave way for investigations. Panako says President Uhuru Kenyatta should sack the two if they fail to resign. A section of members of Parliament also want the President to crack the whip on fire Kagwe and Mochache. Now, senior reporter Rita Tinina with those details.
When he appeared before the Senate Joint Health and Ad Hoc Committee on COVID-19 on Friday, suspended KEMSA CEO John Manjari shifted the blame on Health CS Mutahi Kagwe and Health PS Susan Mochache over the procurement of COVID-19 emergency supplies.
Was there any individuals who were forcing you to make some of these decisions outside the board sanctions?
I would say yes. There were, there were requests from the PS.
Which PS, and be specific? Which PS?
Susan Mochache.
Yes, yes.
There were requests from the Cabinet Secretary.
Which CS? It's good you give us names for the record.
We've said Honorable Mutahi Kagwe.
Mutahi Kagwe and Susan Mochache may have some explanation to do this week when they are expected to appear before the Joint Committee. And pressure continues to mount on the Health CS and PS.
Nataka kuanzia kwa waziri Mutahi Kagwe, PS Susan Mochache, kufikia Jumatatu muwe mumeresign kutoka kwa ofisi zenyu.
Wale watu wametumwa KEMSA wafanye uchunguzi yao, tujue mbichi na mbivu ile iliendelea KEMSA, ili tuhakikishe ya kwamba pesa ya mwananchi haijapotea.
But now Mochache and Kagwe, the honorable thing we can do for this country is to step aside, resign. Resign.
I want to tell the CS Health, the PS Health, and all those others who have been mentioned in this COVID haste, please keep social and physical distance from public funds, and also keep physical distance from public office and quit your jobs.
The Kenya National Union of Nurses Secretary General, who was speaking in Kakamega, says if the two bosses at Afya House fail to step aside, the President should take action against them.
And if you can't resign, the President must sack you. If the President cannot sack you, then I will believe that actually the haste in the health sector remains a royal haste.
On Wednesday last week, President Uhuru Kenyatta gave investigative agencies a 21-day ultimatum to finalize the probe into the alleged multi-billion shillings KEMSA funds scandal. It is now 17 days and counting on the probe into a scandal that is threatening to strain the government's relations with donors who have had its back in the health sector. Rita Tinina, KTN News.
And joining, or rather continuing on with our discussion here in studio, is Honorable Joe Mutambo and Canon Ambrose Weda. We asked you to be a part of this conversation, so tell us who you think should be blamed for what is going at the Ministry of Health. Now, Honorable Mutambo, there's a question here for you from one of our viewers. He's asking, ask Joe what other evidence he wants when juniors admit their boss gave directives on what to do. Let us be serious. What is your reply to that particular comment?
You see, like I said, haters are out there, and somebody can just mention your name without adducing any evidence. If somebody adduces any evidence against me, I'll be the first person to step down, but not just a mere person saying in a rally that so and so is corrupt. And that is the trade we need to come out of as a country if we want to prosper. Let us talk with evidence, not to talk because the cloud or the glamour is out there that man has lost, this has lost. And then you start saying, you step aside, and somebody once has been sacked, then they go ahead and say that I was told by the minister to do this, I was told by the CS to do this. There is a procedure which government works. And for me, being at the aim, if I want something to be done in my ministry, there is the protocol and there are procedures to follow. And there's the way we do business. There is no clever or good CEO who will just take a word of mouth. I will do a note or something and say, when a CEO do this and this and this, or you bring the document, you write on top of those documents, approve this is done, this procurement to be given to this, so that there is that person's signature. Can that be enthused before we just talk about somebody resigning or somebody not resigning? Yes, I know people say there are people converse, and as a minister, you may also have some interest and employ upon the CEO, please go and give this. But if you are a good CEO, you will tell your minister, but a minister, yes, this you are telling me to do, but it is not possible because the law do not allow. So if you are told by someone, go and steal, you cannot steal and then say it is Mutambo who told me to go and steal. If you break the law, you cannot go back and say it is the minister who told me to do so. Show evidence that I did tell you to do or to commit that crime.
Okay, there's need for sufficient evidence. Now, on Mr. Weda, when you see the finger pointing that is ongoing, rightly so, they are being asked who ordered this, and then they say it is the PS, Susan Mochache, who asked for these companies to be added onto this tender process, and the CS is also being roped in. That is the very latest figure in that inquiry being pointed at. What does that imply to you, given that the CS has said he did keep up with the process, Mr. Weda, but then he did not direct them to be a part of corruption, to engage in corrupt acts. What do you make of that? And basically, where would you say the blame should fall? Because there are directions given. The juniors, as has been put by one of our commenters, go out of their way to make them happen, but at the same time, they're subverting procedures. So what do you make of that? And obviously, who should be blamed?
Let me tell you, a CEO is in very weak position in these parastatals. Very weak. A CEO has the board breathing on their neck, and then they have the PS and the CS. These procurements are not that holy as we may be made to believe, especially when it is emergency procurement that requires and allows almost single sourcing. It is at this process of single sourcing that people come in and say, please, this one and this one and this one. So when the CEO says that I was told the best evidence rule in law is direct evidence, that's the best. Where somebody says, yes, I was told by so and so, then you verify. And if you look at what happened, surely where did he get those names? We are talking about procurement under emergency circumstances. We are talking about procurement where you are called 3, 4, 5 times a day. How far are we? Where are these things? When are we getting them? Are they there tomorrow? We are not talking about the normal procurement where the CEO sits with the team and they look and they open things. We are talking about where you are waiting for a call from the minister. The minister is waiting for a call from the president. People are dying. People are moving. That is why when the CEO says, yes, a list was also given to me, by who? And he has identified the fellows. We have to investigate whether it's lying or there is some credible, he has credit about it. Looking at the circumstances, that is a lawyer. I will tell you, I am disappointed. I thought my brother Kagwe was on the job and we were moving through the pandemic together and is strong. But I think along the way, there is high possibility, 60% chance, that he must have told the CEO that this tech put in this place, this tech put in this one, like in this phone, you can put in this one. Now that's busted. And he says, I don't know. So what did he know? How comes he surprised? I think there are people who are given jobs, they disappoint my president, and then my president takes blame. for things, it is very bad. So I would not go down and say, oh, the CEO, the what. I can tell you the CEOs are in very weak position.
Yeah.
When tenders involving billions and billions are concerned, they are very weak. People put their foot down. Even Chairman Mutambo, when he talks and says, this tender, the CEO can do very little.
However, he has come out to say this is just an indicator of why he's very keen on rooting out mischief and corruption at Afya House. So he is removing himself from the situation and just saying that this is evidence of further and deep-rooted corruption that is going on. So he is saying expressly that he's not part of it.
You don't expect him to say, I'm the one who did this, I took all this, I directed it. Nobody expects him to do that. In fact, they can't do that. I would not do that if I was in this issue. I would say, I don't know. I ask the CEO, ask these people. But you look at the circumstances. The people in that kitchen are saying, I was told by so-and-so. I am now telling you as a lawyer that when you are doing procurement under emergency, the law allows you to do direct procurement where you give it to so-and-so or so-and-so and so-and-so. So it is easier that to give a list. So looking at the circumstances of the case and somebody is giving you direct evidence, you don't expect the minister to say, I don't know, I was away or I was asleep. When we are talking about procuring things that you ask for, you need within hours, within days. I don't think the minister was away in Australia. He knew exactly the process of the procurement, where these things were coming from, how they were coming, and to who they were being given. I have told you the CEOs are in very, very, very weak positions when we are talking about billion shillings worth of tenders.
Now, let's move on to another corruption case that is unfolding before our eyes. Migori governor had his whole family, basically 4 of his children, locked up together with him. And this is part of a series of an ongoing trend of people in office, in public office, roping in family members. And I'll just give you a short list right here. Former Kiambu Governor Ferdinand Waititu, we also that unfold in the media. They were arrested live. And then we have former Youth and Gender PS Lilian Omolo and her 3 daughters. We have Joseph Gikonyo, a career manager, had his wife also put, to a lot of questioning over corruption allegations. Honorable Mutambo, when you look at this, and some would term as this sort of operation as less than smart, particularly when there are questionable deeds, what do you make of it, and how do we clamp down on this sort of behavior?
Before I answer your question, Tracy, let me tell my good friend Weda that even emergency procurement does not just happen on a blanket form of way. There is a procedure. It also follows a procedure. That emergency procurement also follows a procedure. There's a committee which deals with it. And that's why I'm saying I'm talking as a person who sits as the chairman of a parastatal. And a smart CEO will not let himself to be in a situation where the CEO of KEMSA is today. A smart CEO. I'm saying this, my CEO is so smart that when I tell him, CEO, let's do this, he comes and tells me, when a chairman, the law does not allow this, we have to do this must be done. And if it is the minister giving directives, the CEO has got also the powers and the authority to tell the minister, but a minister, for us to do this and this must be done. And if you want me to do this, mark here for me. If you want me to do this just like that, just mark here. That is a smart CEO. Now, coming back to your question, we also need to understand that the governors and those who have mentioned, they are also CEOs of the counties. And this, I'm not feeling for them. I'm not feeling for for Governor Obodo, because dragging your family into all these sagas, that is being, it's a stupidity of highest level. So I don't feel for him. It is so stupid for you to drag your family into the business of the county and you hide your money with your children and your family. I remember somebody, I think it is Kibaki, who said even stealing requires intelligence. Somebody, you need to have some brains for you to do this. I'm not saying that you should do it, but it was so wrong to bring your family into the affairs of the county. And this is too wrong. And what we are seeing, Tracy, let me tell Kenyans that it's just a tip of the eye. If you want to know the road, it is out there. There are so many other governors who have done so many evil things. It's only that they have not been brought in. If today we are serious with the corruption and we say one by one, let us investigate each and every governor, I tell you, all of them, they will be in a committee because all of them, they have issues, all of them, they have corruption issues, they have evicted in their areas. I tell you, all of them, they are building new houses, all of them, they are buying new vehicles, all of them, they are doing all this. And when they went in those, they were nobody. Some of them were borrowing 10,000 shillings in the parliament together. But today, somebody is building in Kileleshwa, another one is building in Karen, another one within 5 years, and the salary is less than $1 million. So you wonder where this money came from. It's just a short term of 3 years or 5 years or so. Some are building hotels and they are parading them. Where do you get the money to build a hotel within 3 years? So those things, they are happening, but we are not questioning. We are only seeing those who are stupid who are being caught. But I can tell you, if the government of this country is serious about corruption, let us do what the president said. Let us do what we call lifestyle audit. That is where you'll find the rot. People have looted this country. And that was my essence when I said, let us have few thieves. Let us have fewer counties. It is better when you are fighting with one lion than when you are fighting with 100 wild dogs. You will be eaten alive, and this country will be eaten alive.
True. Let's get Mr. Weda's opinion also.
Is Kenyan suffering the way we are suffering. Anywhere you will see money today, because this KEMSA problem.
Mr. Weda, I would like you to come in on this one as well.
And people are procuring without following the law, and they are giving the tenders to their friends and their relatives, and it is.
Mr. Weda, I'd like you to comment on this particular trend of families being roped into corrupt acts. At the very least, it is a conflict of interest. There's nepotism in there. There's corruption, blatant corruption, if it is determined by the court. So what is your take on this, and why is this happening to the point that families are being shamed, or basically shaming themselves before the whole entire nation?
Sad, especially for my brother Obado. I feel a heavy heart because his son, his last born son, is a good friend of my son, and they were in the same class. So when I see this, I feel very, very sad. I feel for them. And also from my knowledge of the law prohibits expressly that when you are in a public office, your family members, you cannot allow them to deal with the office you are in. So that looking at that basic element, if you can just have a small trace of money into this account, if you can just have evidence that members of the family, people you can prove are direct, participated in the tendering process, then you can see that the legal part is very, very dicey and very, very difficult for my brother, and I feel it's very unfortunate. But that kind of impunity should not even be thought of. Even if you are eating and stealing, steal with the world so that they also eat. You can't concentrate it in the family. If it is poisonous, it kills the entire family. These people, it is very, very sad. It's very wrong. These people, God himself says, the heart of man is inclined to evil. This level is so bad for the country, so bad for the family. And I'm telling you, legal is very dangerous. It is very dangerous. The proof is very basic. Is so-and-so related to so-and-so? Yes. Was there business dealing, whether good or bad? Was there business dealing? And then you have a piece of office proved. And then you have all this, if they conferred a benefit, money was changed, you have it. So you look at it, I look at where my brother Obado is, and I say, hey, my brother, all this, we will remember you in prayers, but the situation, you need serious lawyers. Those of us in high offices, please, let's not do this. You don't need all the money to survive. You don't need all the money. All you need is to have value so that when you walk out, you can earn, and you need very little. You can't eat 1,000 loaves of bread. You only need one. And then you age and you die. So this culture leading this country should come to an end. Even, my opinion, even if you take kidogo, take just, when you're cooking a big bowl of meat in a big soup here at a field, occasionally you can taste, but you don't cook the entire meat. You just take a few pieces you taste, so that even if somebody says you had out the meat, they can say, I was only testing whether salt was enough. And we deal with you with kilograms. What was happening in Kiambu, what has happened in Migori, I think they need to repent. They need to change their heart. They need to apologize. They need to say, this was wrong. We'll never go into it. We're willing to take this kind of punishment. Otherwise, our country may just ban one day. I saw what Joe Mutambo said. We saw people who went into these offices, MCAs and others. They were riding on borrowed motorbike, borrowed boxers. They had dates with the motorcycle riders. They had nothing. But immediately they go in, they build mansions that they have. But 10 four-wheel drive cars, and they have changed their appetite. They used to do very nice gidere. They love gidere with a lot of beans. Now they can't touch. They know which side is salon steak, which side is beef steak. Even the tastes have changed. But how has it changed? Not that they are earning more, not that they have become exotic. It is because of the money that has been easy to pay.
If you would like Honorable Mutambo to comment on the situation with Malindi Member of Parliament Aisha Jumwa, who was being sought after by the police. 5 of her co-accused were taken before court, and they later were given a bond of 10 million shillings. And this later on is she did go and present herself to the police, questioned for 45 minutes, and then released. What do you make of that unfolding situation, also on corruption, that it would actually that has seen her accused of misappropriation of over 50 million shillings. I mean, this is quite typical. The CDF fund thing had been trending a lot of years ago, and clearly, seemingly, it is still happening, if this is anything to go by, if it is, this is proven to be true. Honorable Mutambo.
One, I sympathize with my sister Aisha Juma, and I do not understand how she managed. If Aisha Juma managed to steal 50 million from CDF, then she's a super con woman, because what I know, the kit which is well managed in our country is CDF, because the CDF money comes coded, and it comes going to a particular project. And for her to go behind that and take 50 million is something which puzzles me. I don't know how she managed to do that. And again, the budget of a CDF is less than 100 million a year. And the projects you do are all coded, and they are particular projects, and that money goes straight to those projects. Unless she never did those projects, it will be a very difficult task for the prosecutors to prove that she stole that money. It is not easy. I want to tell Kenyans, you know, they talk about members of parliament. I'm not defending any member of parliament here, but I know the CDF is so much well structured that before it is released, the people of that constituency sit down and say, we want 2 classrooms, we want 1 dispensary, we want this kind of project here, and that money has what we call PMCs, or project management committees, who get that money directly. So for her to be picked and to have gotten 50 or so million from 100 million, then I do not know how it happened. Yes. I feel for her. I don't know how she did it. And if it is true, she managed to get that 50 million out of 100 million and she left our constituency with nothing, then she deserves the punishment. But I can tell Kenyans that if there's anything which is well managed, it is CDF.
Yes, Mr. Weda, what do you make of Malindi Member of Parliament situation with that allegation of corruption? She was confident that she would not be found at fault because she maintains that she is innocent in this matter.
Aisha Juma has 2 problems. One, you remember she used to sing against some people in favor of some people. That basically meant that they would look through with a tooth comb to see if there's something to hold and pay her for her past talks.
Right.
That, from the explanation that Joe Mutambo has given and what I know about CDF, you can't steal 50 million. 50 million is so much from a kid of 100 million. So I think one, she's paying for her previous talks, loose talks against the wrong people. Secondly, there could have been mistakes, but maybe minor, small mistakes. But now you have to pay the price. That is what I suspect. I'm not saying I know. I am just speculating what I call logical thought. She must be paying for her past talks, loose talks against the wrong side.
And clearly it is unfolding before our eyes, and if the courts are just, then we shall know the truth from what is false. But on that note, I'd like to thank our guests who have been very instrumental in analyzing our stories in the dailies as well as what has developed over the weekend. Thank you so much, Canon Ambrose Weda, as well as Honorable Joe Mutambo, for being a part of the conversation this morning. And as we shift gears, I'd like to invite Robin Tosken as well as Mike to give us what they have for us coming up.
Well, I'll start first of all by just reading some of what we have on the tweets. And we have somebody saying, evidence is clear, let the CS step aside. Uchunguzi ukiisha, if innocent, atarudi. This is in regards to the question that we asked earlier on. We also have Joshua Nsom who says, but now slowly we are losing faith. Tuned from Embakasi South. Ask Joe what is the evidence he wants, and that of course is in regards to the discussion that you've just had. Matters graft of course has been the subject of discussion, but we are now changing gears and getting into sports. And Robin Tosken, what do you have in store for us?
Quite a lot. Today we'll be discussing about the protocols that have been rolled out. The Ministry of Sports intends to roll out in the next 7 days, because sport has already started coming back in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic. But of course, we'll also be touching on matters corruption also in sport, because the Attorney General of Switzerland is leaving office today because he's under indictment for his improper contact with the FIFA president Gianni Infantino.
Well, it looks like it's quite a lot lined up, but we'll take a short break right here on Morning Express. We do ask you to stay with us if you can for Sports Chat that's coming up with Robin Tosken. For now, we take that break.